Tiny Troops. It's practically StarCraft. On Amigos, everything Amiga. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're talking about Tiny Troops. Quite possibly not only the inspiration for StarCraft, but possibly also Command and Conquer, the Master and Commander, many RTS games. Do you remember the first time you ever heard about esports?
Yeah, I do remember it, actually. And I thought to myself, this ain't going to fly. Because it was way back. You know, this is sort of legendary now, but they tried to get together like a classic video gaming league back way back in the 2600 days. I remember it was either something I saw in the news or read in believe it or not, we used to read newspapers, but it was like they had the top players that were, I don't know how they found out who they were, but they were going to like tour civic centers and whatnot, and play games and draw crowds. And even when it's a kid, I thought, man, this ain't gonna fly. And as I recall, because I found this out later, like I know they had one of those events in like Washington D.C. and like they lost their shirts on this event. Like nobody.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think you lose money? To me, if you have a tournament, you charge the people that are entering the tournament. You charge audience.
No, they're the ones that got the money. You see.
Oh.
So here's what I think went wrong. All right, and Brent's a big esports guy. He esports. He likes
esports.
Yeah. So here's the thing: if you watch live tournaments, for example, okay, I'm just gonna pick a name out of the hat: Street Fighter 5, okay, or whatever. It's fighting. There are some guys fighting. There's a crowd, and it's sort of like a real fight. You can watch it, right?
Yeah.
If you're watching 13 people play Dragster on 2600. It's not like a drag strip. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm paying for what? I'm going to watch a guy play Star Raiders or whatever they're doing. It just doesn't fly.
Well, I think a lot of times, too, with those older games, they were sort of, marathon high score challenges where with a lot of esports now, it's like you play 3 matches and it takes 10 minutes. Well, I guarantee you get the Star Raiders champion of the world. It's a 72-hour game you're having to watch right there.
Well, I mean, you remember in King of Kong where that guy walks up, he has like a box of videotapes. He's like, this is the team record holder video for like the 62-hour marathon of like Ladybug or whatever the game was. And I remember, and he's like, I'm gonna watch all this tonight. I thought to myself, no, you're not gonna do that. No one's doing that, and no one's gonna come to a thing. Now, admittedly, at these esports events back in the 80s, I don't think they were just sitting the guy down and being like, listen, just keep playing Kangaroo till you lose, because they go for like a month.
I was gonna say maybe that's why these things didn't. Yeah. But I think that you've got to have with esports, it's got to be a head-to-head challenge. It can't just be 2 people playing the same game, not against each other. That's no good.
You were over in South Korea for a good while, and over there, I have read and have seen that they have a thriving esports scene. And a lot of games over there that people played in the arena setting. I mean, am I wrong here?
I moved to Korea in 2007.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember this vividly, turning on the television that was provided in my apartment. They gave me a TV, but they didn't give me a desk or anything to put on. So it was just sitting on my floor. And so I turn on the TV, and I'm flipping through the channels. And I'm like, they got a StarCraft channel. All right. Flip a couple more channels. They've got another StarCraft channel. They had 2 StarCraft channels on basic cable.
So it's like the NFL of South Korea.
Yeah. So even that's pretty early days for esports, and it was huge. I think it was much bigger in Korea before it got big in quotes here. I still don't think esports is as big here as it is in certain places in Asia.
Oh gosh, I would agree with you there. But I will say this. If you foster the right atmosphere, right, it's like a party. You know, and
Sure.
you're watching guys, and you can play games and you're watching the big screen. So, listen, I would be down for that.
Listen,
like
I
going to
would
your
much
house,
rather.
you know?
I would much rather go and see a StarCraft tournament than sit and listen to a bunch of Euro dance trash at some crappy demo party. I'll tell you that right now.
Are you trying to listen? The demo people have long arms, Boat. They'll come
I'm
after
fast.
you. Don't
I
rattle.
can move. I use the peekaboo technique.
Yeah, they're gonna use the punch you in the face techniques. What they're gonna do, and they're gonna do it while singing some Euro trash. But yeah, in terms of esports, do I see it taking our nation by storm anytime soon? No. But I mean, you know, we watch a lot of dumb crap that are faux competitions on TV.
Yeah,
You know, and so to me, and Brent's gonna think to himself, I can't believe I'm hearing this. To me, an e-sporting event with two teams or two players that are playing a Madden or a first-person shooter, whatever. That's more of a sport than American Idol or something. Some kind of fixed garbage
or something like Survivor or something like that.
Yeah.
To me, I love any sort of competition where it's two guys at the top of their game or two ladies or whatever, just seeing who's the better person. You know, that's why I like combat sports, even though I'm anti-violence.
Yeah.
Because it's like the most pure form of competition.
It's not violence. It's not violence for the sake of violence. It's a martial art. It's someone expressing their artistic mastery. It just happens to be the mastery of whooping somebody's brains out.
That's right.
That's how you justify it. Hey, listen, you're a religious guy, right? You got your warrior monks. There have been plenty of religious guys that were also death dealers.
That's true.
You know,
the Knights Templar.
There's a spiritual connection with butt kicking. That's sort of like my religion, Boat.
And with that, Aaron, let's talk about Tiny Troops.
That's the haunting love theme from Tiny Troops. They really kick in. I mean, ever. It just sort of goes on like that. Like an ambient, one of those things you go to sleep with, like space music. You know what I mean? That's really we're going. Which makes a little bit of sense, I guess, given the background.
That's true.
Of Tiny Troops. Now, as I often do, Boat, I'm going to ask you, have you played or heard of this before this week?
Never in my life had I heard of Tiny Troops.
I don't think I had either. To compound my folly, for the longest time this week, I kept calling it Tiny Troopers over and over. Tiny Troopers.
Like Starship Troopers.
Well, there's a game called Tiny Troopers, but it's a modern game. And so
okay.
You get a whole different level of stuff.
I'm sort of surprised there's not a modern game called Tiny Troops, because, I mean, honestly, that's a pretty good name.
It's not that good. Because when you say something's tiny, it instantly diminishes it to me. Why not giant troops? That's monster troops. I mean, tiny troops. Do you want a cup? Do you want a big gulp or a tiny gulp? You know what I mean? Let's be honest here. No one wants the tiny gulp. With all that said, that expert analysis, Boat, it's Tiny Troops. Released late in the game. 1997. Boatster, late. And this one was developed by Phoenix Interactive Entertainment. It's their sole offering on the Amiga. Published by Vulcan. Vulcan Software. You know that shtick. Live long and prosper, brother. They also were responsible for it. We actually covered some of the things they did, including Burnout, Final Odyssey. Remember that one?
No.
And we covered Final Odyssey. And Valhalla.
I don't know I remember Valhalla. Yeah.
Go back and look through our back catalog, Boat. You'll find it. This is an OCS EChat joint. Now listen, I read that you could get this on disc or on CD or disc. The disc is a 5-disc special. 5 discs, Boat.
That's a lot of discs.
That's a lot of discs. I wonder how many were devoted to the opening of this game.
Probably most of them. I would say this is a 3-disc open. This is an impressive open.
So I read it's funny, I read the back of the box before I watched the open. Because and then I watched the open, and it's exactly what's on the back of the box, except with like moving pictures going on. Moving picture show. The quick and dirty of the story is you've got two different factions in this game. Okay, the Klutes and the Furfurians. All right, and they're at war, never-ending, non-stop war. Okay. And they've been at war for so long, no one really knows why they're fighting. And oh, by the way, they've trashed the planet they're on. This is
very 1984-esque.
Yeah, this is a hideous reminder or a preview of things to come, Boat, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So they've trashed their planet. So what do you do when you trash your planet? Do you stop the war, make peace, try to fix the planet? No. That's for suckers. They took a more realistic American approach. They're like, yeah, we're leaving our planet. We're going to go move our war to some other planet.
We're taking the war to a new place.
And they did. A shining planet known as Earth. So here's the gimmick, though. The two factions on Earth are tiny. You see, you get it? They're tiny troops, in fact, Bode. And so when they're on Earth, everything looks big. That's the bit.
Yeah.
What'd you think about this? Their gimmick for this one?
It's a good concept. I like it. I like in the chat. One Joyful Day says that the characters remind him of Pikmin. I've been playing a lot of the Pikmin 4 demo on the Switch.
Oh, yeah?
And that was instantly what I thought of when I started playing this game, is that, it's always fun to me to be tiny. Like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I love that movie. There's just something about seeing the world, the world we live in from a miniature perspective. I think it's cool, and I also think it's hilarious that these like warmongering troops. First of all, they look really cute. They don't look like people that would be extremely warlike. But then when they transport themselves and their death machines onto a new planet, they're incredibly, incredibly small. So A+ on the game concept for me.
Yeah, I'll give you that one, Bode. I thought it was okay. So, what is Tiny Troops? Well, Tiny Troops is a game for 1 to 2 players, where you basically go to war with whoever's on the other side. That's the game. Now, this is your classic. I guess what would you call this? Real-time strategy game, Bode?
This is a real-time strategy game, absolutely.
And you mentioned, I assume you mentioned this in jest. You mentioned Command and Conquer, and you mentioned StarCraft. I don't know. I played Command and Conquer back in the day. It seems like that was out a long time ago. Give me a reference as to what years those came out versus when this is out, Bo. So
I'd have to know something about video games to tell you that, Aaron. And
because you so confidently said it, I just assumed that you knew.
Really, you've known me this long, and that's what won you over. It looks like Command and Conquer was released in 1995, so Command and Conquer predates this. Warcraft also predates this, I'm sure.
Which I've played that one too. So I've played a couple games like this.
This was a genre, and of course, Dune 2 on the Amiga is sort of the granddaddy of them all.
So with all that reference, thank you, Bode, for looking that up. This game starts you off. Now, I played the one-player version of this. It's not like this game's rich in options. The option to use a joystick or a mouse is in there. That's pretty much the extent of the options. 1 or 2 players. You play this, and there are battles. There are a total of 65 battles in this game that you wage either against a computer opponent or a player. And you start each mission by assigning the set number of characters that you could fill the character slots for that mission. 10 is the one most of the time that's what you would do. Early on, you don't really have much of a choice, but as the game goes on, you get a wider choice of the different types of characters you can put in this. And then once you do that, you can get a briefing. Which, by the way, I found out about the briefing well into my play, Bode.
I tell me about the briefing. How did you get that?
So on the menu, on the screen where you're loading up all your characters. So you not knowing this probably made this a more difficult game for you, Bode. So when you see this screen right here, where you actually pick your guys, when you pick your guys, if you click on, there's a dude up in the corner, like an alien. If you click on him, he gives you a briefing for that mission.
How did you figure that out?
Well, I'll tell you how I figured it out. I got to a mission. I was like, what am I doing? Surely they're not so stupid that they're not going to give you a briefing. And so I clicked around, and then I found it. It was that guy, and he gave you a briefing on it.
Oh, okay.
So that probably put you in the back foot right away.
Yes, absolutely.
So early missions are mostly just like you are supposed to. There's a radar screen. Let's talk about the main screen. I'm gonna let you jump in here a second. Here's what the screen looks like when you start the game. You've got basically a radar section at the bottom. There are 4 squares at the bottom of the screen. It's a radar. There are 2 squares that are full of buttons for actions for your guys, and then a 3rd square that like gives you different formations for your troops. Okay, and at the top of the screen, 2/3 of the screen is just the actual area of the screen, the battlefield. And I used the mouse. I heard you. I didn't even think about using the joystick for this. That sounded like a horrible idea.
Yeah,
and
I can't imagine using the joystick. Yeah.
But you literally scroll around the screen using the mouse. When you get to the far edge of the screen where the thing needs to scroll, it turns into an arrow, and you can keep scrolling around. So that's how you scroll around the screen. Generally, the first couple missions have you basically confronting and assaulting an enemy force as they confront and assault you. It's pretty straightforward. Your guys come in on like a big teleporter, and that's how you get onto the battlefield, and then you go to fight. Boat, before we get too deep in this, I want to get your thoughts on the control scheme in this game for moving around the battlefield with your mouse, and also for picking troops.
Well, this game does incorporate some of the more modern conveniences of RTS games, especially when you put it up against something like Dune 2, for example. You are able to click and drag units, which is sort of a watershed moment when you could click and drag that dashed rectangle around the guys you wanted to move. Yeah. However, the problem with the click and drag is that you're limited to the size of the square that you can make, which is ridiculous. So like you may want to select all of your guys and move them somewhere. Well, you can't, because you can't physically make the square big enough to encompass all of your guys. So what you have to do is you have to use what I like to call the rally round button, which is the last button there on the left. And you get all your guys to sort of cluster around you, and then you can select them all. This game, once you have guys selected, you can move them, or you can attack with them. All the button presses in this game are triggered by the left mouse button. Probably the biggest fault in the control of this game is that it does not utilize the right mouse button at all.
Bafflingly.
I just can't understand why you wouldn't take advantage of the other button on the mouse.
I can tell you easily. I can tell you what.
Tell me.
Because it supports the joystick.
Oh,
and that's why they wanted that. Presumably, think about this was out in '97, so I assume by this time they had the CD32 and the CD-TV in mind when this was released. But they also still had to be faithful to the old Amiga. And if you play 2 players on this, I don't think it even supports 2 mice. It may be, but I didn't check. But the reason you only get that one button, that bit dollars to donuts, is because they wanted to make it quick and easy to get a joystick involved.
I guarantee you're right, but you just have to think. Okay, the CD-TV, the CD-TV is a complete non-factor by 1997. So
it does have multiple buttons, though, if that's where you're going.
But the CD32 definitely multiple buttons. Yeah. And guess what? 100% of the people that own Amigas own a mouse. So I don't doubt.
But not a CD32 though. That's the problem.
But again, the CD32 multiple buttons on the controller. It came with a multiple button controller.
Right, but they have to support the lowest common denominator, Bo. You know that. It's idiotic. Don't get me wrong. The fact that I was using that mouse, and by the way, how much effort would it take from a programming perspective to let you use that second mouse button for something? Right. I mean, we're not talking about like rewriting the graphics modes or something. This is something a lot simpler. So I think it's just basically laziness. It's 97. We're not expecting the cream of the crop here at this point.
Well, you have to look, who was still making games for the Amiga in 1997? It definitely was not your major publishers. These are guys that are trying to eke out a living by selling, by moving enough product to make their next game, basically. And so if you look at it from that perspective, I can see why they would feel like they'd have to cater to all audiences. Yeah. I can understand that. But this is sort of what they've done is they've they've taken that desire and they've made the game worse because of it, and not just a little bit worse, but markedly worse.
Listen, we're in lockstep on this one. I knew right away that the controls are going to be a problem, just because of the way even when you lasso your guys, if you click incorrectly, it just goes away. Also, the lasso moves, but once you move it, it doesn't do anything. Stuff like that. The fact that your controls. So basically, you pick a guy or a group of guys, and then you've got some buttons, some unmarked buttons, that old shtick, that just have logos on them to do stuff. You've got a fist, which means you're going to attack. Like it's like you're going to attack somebody. There's an upward arrow that basically is to move your guys. There's a wrench when you need to do stuff like repair your teleport pad, do repairs. There's a shield to have guys guard stuff like the teleporter. And then there's a target that basically said the rally point thing. You basically target one of your guys, and then all your buddies will rally to him, right? It is incredibly easy to hit the wrong buttons on these. It's incredibly difficult to get the guys to do intricate maneuvers. I'll jump in if you disagree with this, Boat. But for me, when I try to do like kind of split squad maneuvering, it was a trial, to say the least. And the thing is, the bones of all that being successful are there. The radar is quite good. I like the way it's set up for the most part, but the controls make it very difficult. And something else is the pathing is real jacked up. Guys get caught on stuff in the playfield all the time. It's real annoying. There's a game mechanic that comes into play on like level 3 or 4 where you could literally move these rocks around. And what the idea of this is, because you're facing a superior force, is to move these rocks into a point where the enemy can only come through with one guy at a time. You can just cream him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The movement of these rocks requires you to move your characters, and they scoot along and push these rocks. I can't tell you how irritating it was to try to move these rocks around with your players, because they're just hard to maneuver precisely in a correct way to get this to happen. And I found it quite frustrating, which is a shame, because I think this is an attractive game, Boat. I mean, it's not it's not Shadow of the Beast or anything, but I mean,
this is yet another example. This is yet another example. We talk about, the Euro platformer designers, that it was like they saw Mario on a TV across the room in a smoky bar, and they decided to make a game like it. This is sort of like somebody saw somebody playing Warcraft, like Warcraft 2, in that same smoky bar from across the room, and they're like, yeah, we can do something like that. And they did. They did something like that, but they left out everything that makes that game good.
Well, yeah, and this game gets compared to a lot of other games. I mean, these little squad-based, like, war games, even at this point, they were, you had Cannon Fodder, for example, which is a superior game.
I don't see this as a game like Cannon Fodder at all.
Why do you not? I mean, you don't see any similarities?
Well, yeah, there's little guys running around on a screen and you're killing other things. But Cannon Fodder is not about it's not about squad tactics as much as it is being able to quickly maneuver your guys in and out of situations, being able to fire accurately. Like everything in this game is auto target. Cannon Fodder is the opposite of that. You've got to click on every single one of those enemies to kill them. Also, there's no hit points in Cannon Fodder. When you shoot a guy, he's dead. This is a game that is much more really. Cannon Fodder is I think we've talked about it before. It's a lot like a lot of great games. It really stands alone in terms of games that are like it. There aren't really a whole lot of other games that are exactly like Cannon Fodder. This game, apart from just having a initial visual similarity to the game, everything about it is different and worse.
Well, one of the things Cannon Fodder did that this game, I mean, you're right, there are major differences. There are similarities, and the movement in Cannon Fodder is a lot simpler and a lot easier to master. Part of the reason is you're moving a lot of guys in this a lot of the time, and you're moving against a lot of times you're fighting superior forces, and so you've got a lot going on all over the place. Cannon fodder, you would split your guys up occasionally, but you're talking like 1 or 2 guys, not like 10 guys against 20 guys or whatever. It gets a lot more confusing. Another thing that I really didn't like, the problems I have with this game are stupid problems. We've talked to so many times. Something simple like just your ability to move around the map. I don't mean move your guys around the map. I mean just move the mouse around. I always had trouble getting it to function very well when I did it. It's weird, and trying to keep track of everything that's going on and move around and move the screen around, I just found difficult.
Yeah.
And before too long in this game, I got to a point where I was really frustrated. But
there are so many easy things that would make this game better. Now, I did not have the documentation for this game. I looked for the docs and I could not find them.
Either. I couldn't find it either. I couldn't find it either.
What I saw on Let's Plays and magazine reviews to figure this thing out. And there are no keyboard shortcuts. And keyboard shortcuts are what you need to have in a real-time strategy game. The real-time strategy games popularized the term APM. Have you heard of the APM before? It's actions per minute. It talks about, it might be APS now, these guys are so fast, but it's like how many different actions can you perform in this game per minute? And if every time that you have to do something on the screen, then you have to go back down to a menu screen. You have to move the mouse all the way down, then move the mouse all the way back up to target the thing with the thing that you've just clicked on. That's incredibly wasteful. What they should have done was they should have mapped attack to the A button. They should have mapped move to the M button. That way you never have to move your cursor off the screen. You press the M key and then you press the left mouse button and the guys that you've selected move. Then you press the A button, which selects the attack action. Then you click on the guys that you want to attack and you attack them. These are easy things that they could have done that are not outside the realm of possibility for 1997.
I was going to ask you if the age of this game gives it a pass on any of that.
No,
I don't think
not
it does.
at all.
And I will say, having played, I'm not what I would call the Command and Conquer master, or the Warcraft, but I did play them, and I did not find them as frustrating to operate in as I do this one. I found this more difficult.
Another thing that separates this game from the other real-time strategy games is that even in the earliest levels of Command and Conquer or StarCraft or Warcraft, you're doing something other than just attacking the bad guys. For example, in Warcraft and in StarCraft, you're gathering resources. You have to gather timber to build things, or you have to gather the whatever the gas is or the crystals in StarCraft to build various things. So you have this whole tech tree mechanic that you're dealing with at the same time as you're moving troops out to attack the enemy base. And so that mixture of things keeps the combat from getting too monotonous, because you got to realize that this game, you don't have direct control over your characters. And so at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're maneuvering your guys into place. You're hitting the attack button. You're watching these guys mindlessly slog it out until either in one or the other side wins. And then you move on to the next stage. Now, like you said, in the later stages, you're doing more things to affect the environment, but you still don't have the same sort of multi-tiered strategy gaming approach that you have in a game like Warcraft.
I will say, as I went through the game, and I got, I know I was moving along pretty well. Like, I won my first 3 or 4 missions without any problem, right? But I got to a point, that's when I had to look at what I was supposed to do, where it really, the difficulty ramps up quite a bit, like pretty fast. And so I did not get incredibly far into this game. And so luckily there's a thing that lets you skip around to the different levels. There's a little cheat for it. I couldn't find any documentation either, but I did find the cheat that let me skip through the levels. As you move further into the game, vehicles and turrets and whatnot become more of a thing.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
sort of
kinda neat.
it's sort of an Ikari Warriors type thing where you can jump in a tank or you can jump in a turret and use the turret.
Right, and then often early on, you're fighting, the enemy will come at you with tanks and whatnot. I mean, it's actually I'm not going to give any commentary on the level design or whatnot because I just didn't feel like I got good enough to really make a educated summation of these. But I will say I think their ideas were sound. But I could not get far enough or was apt enough with the controls to have fun trying to decipher what they were up to.
And again, you have to look at the audience this was created for. So if you were an Amiga owner in 1997, you'd never played Command and Conquer. You'd never played Warcraft because none of those games were available on your platform. So this might have been, aside from Dune 2, this might have been sort of your first exposure to the real-time strategy genre. And I can see how somebody like that would have a lot more fun with a game like this. But once those keyboard shortcuts are unlocked, and once you're like, okay, now I really feel like I can make some progress, it's really hard to take a step back in game design to where you're constantly clicking up on the playfield, back down to the menu, back and forth. That's really hard to go back to.
Well, we've played quite a few of these games, but where the interface was not as elegant as we would like.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they get a pass, sometimes they don't, and this is not the worst, by the way.
It's not the worst, and it's a very pretty game. The graphics are very good.
But these kind of games are the ones that really upset me because I think there's something that could be fun here. Now, this does have 2-player split screen. That could be a real winner because you're both hampered with the same shortcomings, and so I can absolutely see where playing this. I don't know if they've got this over at Amiga Live, but it might be worth looking into to see if he supports us over there. By the way, shout out Amiga Live, we love him over there. But this one, I'm gonna say a mixed bag. I wish I could have gotten a little further without cheating. And then once I went to the higher levels to try them, I didn't do that well because, of course, it's a natural progression where you learn stuff that I didn't have. I mean, I won a couple here and there, but it was mostly just by luck. Some of the other levels you're repairing things, you're retrieving things, so it's not just go out and kill everything. They put some variety in there.
Okay, well that's good. I didn't see those levels, but I'm glad that variety is there.
Yeah, but I mean, when you don't have a decent interface, it sort of lets the whole project down. Did we get any Discord action on this one, Boatster?
Unfortunately, nobody found it within their hearts to play Tiny Troops this week.
Oh man, well I did look. I'm surprised because this is a pretty accessible title. I looked this up on Lemon to see how they scored it. They gave this one a 6.54, which I'd say that's probably in the ballpark of where I would have placed it. Amiga Format in '97 gave this an 88. CU Amiga gave this a 69. That add them all together, you get an average magazine rating of 79%. Boatster. This was an Amiga exclusive, so there's no comparison this week. But I did look it up on eBay because you think sometimes these games that are released late in the cycle are worth a few bucks. But this one I saw sold complete in box in the UK for $20 American dollars, but
wow, still very reasonable.
Title. Hey, listen, buy it, get the rule book, and then upload it somewhere. Maybe we've had a little more fun if we had some thoughts on. Any final thoughts on this one, Boat?
No, this is it. Well, yeah, I say no, then I'm getting ready to talk. Again, like you said, it's a beautiful game. It's hampered by the other games that are in the genre and seeing what can really be done with it. But if you were an Amiga owner in 1997 and you were just itching to play something in this sort of a genre, you probably could do worse.
Absolutely. Well said, Boatster.
If you ask any Amiga repair technician what the most problematic component of a motherboard is, they'll undoubtedly mention capacitors. The electrolytic capacitors that shipped with the Amiga are 30 years old or older at this point, and each one is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode battery acid all over your motherboard, sometimes damaging it irrevocably. Don't wait. Replace your capacitors now. Full capacitor kits for every Amiga model are available now at RetroRewind.ca. Don't want to attempt the repair yourself? Use their white glove recap service and leave the intricate removal and soldering process to the professionals using industry standard equipment. Use the promo code Amigos10 at checkout and save 10% off your cap kit or service. Remember, make RetroRewind.ca your first stop for all your Commodore computer needs.
Amiga News.
All right, Aaron, big news week in the world of Amiga.
All right.
Indie Retro News has been burning the midnight oil over there, talking about all of these brand new up-and-coming games for the Amiga. And we start with a game that is about as far away from my heart as you can get.
I knew it's burial.
An unreleased Amiga/PC dungeon crawler.
Come on.
Aaron, you are much friendlier to the old dungeon crawler than I am.
Yeah.
What do you think of Thalamar Land of Chaos?
Well, I'm looking at it here for the first time. It looks like your standard setup here. You've got the screen divided into 4 different players. You've got a window at the top to let you move around. I mean, this looks like many of the same game we've played before. I see you've got icons there for items. You've got a grab and a attack button, that stuff. So might be good. I mean, it's one of those games where you try it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I know you hate these, Boat.
Yes.
But what are you gonna do? It looks like it's got a day-night cycle. I thought maybe the video just got screwed up, but it's a day-night cycle, so that's kind of cool. You never know. It looks good. It looks okay. I mean, we've played a couple of these on the show like this, but hey, maybe it's got a good plot or whatever. You never know.
Nice. I am a fan of the day-night cycle, and but immediately I'm struck by the lack of on-screen mapping. That's a no-go for me if I don't have that. Now, this game, I guess. It was produced in 1999. It was originally slated for the Amiga. Talk about another late Amiga release.
Yeah.
Never came out. Then they planned to re-release it or to kind of bring it back in 2006 with a 3D engine. But there was no interest from the former team to continue.
No.
Unfortunate.
Clearly, they did not use the 3D engine. It might be cool. I'll do like at the bottom of the screen. It's a huge empty spot with the timer. It looks like something off the Atari 8-bit.
In the grand Amiga tradition of the massive HUD.
I mean, that is, you talk about waste of space. Dreamcatch is turned over in his grave right now. Good stuff, though. But hey, it might be great, though. I don't want to bury this. Again, it's Thalamar Land of Chaos. We live in a land of chaos right now, Boat. So
that's right.
Close to home.
Now, Aaron, our next story is a game near and dear to my heart. I've played several of these over the years. This is a new entry in the Box series. That's BOXX. It comes to us from Lemming880. And this is a really cute and colorful, bouncy platformer that I just love. This looks like something that you might, I think Pajako might have programmed something like this on the old J2ME back in the day. This is something that I would enjoy playing right now if it were in front of me. It says that originally the Box series the Box 3 came out in 2017. It was created in Backbone, which was a real loser engine. So now it's being ported over to the Scorpion engine, which is where all the cool kids are playing these days. And Saberman has a video here of the game in action. At one point, it looks like you take the form of the Terminator robot. I can't think of what that guy's name is, like the Ed 246 or whatever.
That's a RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop. That's what I meant. So anyway, I like the way this looks. What do you think about this one, Aaron?
This looks like a very modern take on an indie game. You know what I mean? It's very indie game looking graphics on this, which is not a bad thing. It's colorful. It's bright. I've got no idea. Is this a platformer? Is that what we're looking at here?
It's a platformer, man.
I mean, it looks nice. Hey, listen. This looks like, I love this stuff. This looks like something that might be right up my alley. And it looks like is this thing ready to go? Did we know?
No, it's a beta right now, but you can download it for free from the author's itch.io page, lemming880.itch.io. Man, I'm telling you, you look at that Amiga section on itch, really any classic computing platform on itch it's really become the Steam marketplace for retro gaming on classic platforms.
Yeah, I think everything in Cammy's Amiga Game Jam was all hosted on itch.
Yeah.
It's a good setup over there. Plus, you can throw those guys a couple bucks,
Mhm.
show them some love.
And you have your whole collection in one place like Steam. So if you accidentally forget what something's called, or if you download something and delete it, you can always go right back there and get it.
Yeah, excellent.
Next up, Aaron, it's time for a 1-to-1 arcade port of Frog. There's a lot of crap talked about transcodes. People talking about these guys are geniuses. You know how I feel about transcodes.
Yeah, you love them, and I do too. No, they're great.
Lazy.
Is that what this is? This not a transcode.
Lazy.
But you couldn't transcode your way out of a wet sack.
Listen, I transcode all night long, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't know what that means.
This is it says the creator, which is RMJ and JoJo, that dynamic duo. This is a 1-to-1 arcade port using the original Z80 code that has been reverse engineered and transcoded to the 68,000. So this is a transcode I can get behind.
Listen, this already looks great because Frogger. Yeah. Listen, I'm taking over. I've had enough of that. No more transcode bashing. This is solid gold money, brother. You think JoJo's gonna put their name on something's crap? This is gonna be solid gold. Frogger. I owned a Frogger boat back in the day.
Really? I didn't know that. Was that in Lexington?
It's the first game ever fixed, man. Broken traces on that sucker, and I went to work. But the Frogger, a great game. This does not get nearly enough jack anymore. Immortalized in that great episode of Seinfeld. But it's just a great game. Simple, easy to control. You can get your mama, your grandmama, anybody can control this sucker and play it and figure it out. Get the frog home. It's that simple. Maybe pick up a girlfriend, eat a bug on the way. I'm so happy because there's a lot of, let's call them second tier Frogger clones out there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Listen, I'm on Air G2. I've played 1,000,000 Froggers, right? But there's only one King Dong, and that's the original Frogger. And the fact that now I can load up the Amiga and play numero uno on there, I salute these young men for their work here. I think this is outstanding, Bode.
Absolutely.
Is this one out yet?
This one, it looks like it is not out yet. It's still a beta, but again, you can check out the ADF over on itch. Aaron, when all these things start hitting alpha, we should have a special stream together in the new and improved studio and play through some of these. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
And I'm looking here on this thing, Boat. This runs on the old A500 with a 512. That means you can run anything. Bam. That's what I'm talking about. Don't listen to Boat. Transcode everything. Transcode the world instead of hack the world. I love him. That's great.
You're going to love this next story, Aaron. There's a new alpha build of, get ready for it, Karate Champ. Now, Aaron, a lot of people think the Karate Champ is sort of an also-ran that doesn't stand up with games like, the Kung Fu Master or Final Fight or something like that. Do you agree with that stance?
Are you kidding me? I will Karate Champ anybody. I mean, in real life, if they aren't down with the champ. They don't call it Karate Champ for nothing. This is another King Dong game. You want arcade action, one-on-one fighting? When we were at Boat Fest, you'll recall this, Boat. I believe it was me. Who was it I was playing on Karate Champ? We were going to war down there. Oh, I know, it was Tapes from the freaking Crypt from Texas. We battled like men on a field of honor with the geese playing Karate Champ, and it holds up. It holds up great. So I'm also ecstatic to see this coming out, Bo. I'm very excited. This is great. You can't get enough of these classic arcade games on the Amiga, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So it looks like there are some dev notes here. It says that this needs 2 mega memory, so no A500, but he's trying to work on it. And also, right now you are limited to a CD32 joypad because all of the controls are linked to those joystick buttons. So if you got yourself a CD32 pad and a 1200 or a CD32, of course, or an emulator, you can give this thing a whirl.
I got me one of those pads. Now here's the thing. I bet they can map this to the old stick. Plus, 2 meg Amiga, like everyone in 2023 has got 2 big megs. That ain't nothing.
That's true.
If they get this working on there, I'm in. I will fight anybody. I love this game. Love it. I also like the master in the background because I always like his hairdo. Like, what's up with that?
I
You
like
got an
his facial
afro?
expression. I wish I could look like that all the time.
You need a Fu Manchu, brother. That's why. If
Is
you
that a
had
Fu
one-
Manchu? I thought that
Look
was a
at-
giant frown.
No. He's Fu Manchuing it up. That's what the
Oh.
cool kids wear. I used to have one of those. Also, he's got
Okay.
the cool guy slippers on. You see that?
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
wear.
Yeah,
People
Kung
like
Fu
me,
slippers.
old kung fu guys, we sort of look the same as you get older.
Yeah. I mean, you and Bruce Lee are practically twins.
Well, I mean, I said
Aaron,
old.
Our next story is about Laser World.
I was at Lazy World. I was like, man, I'm in there. Where's that at?
Lazy World. Boy, I'm saying it now. Lazy World is a great idea for a game.
That should be the name of the restaurant. Change it immediately.
This is a Polish game that has recently been found and rediscovered. This is a lot like a game that we've played on both the Amiga and the ZX Spectrum called Deflector. Do you remember Deflector, Aaron?
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
So
Let's see
this
what
is,
we got
or
here.
I think Photon and the old Coco has a little something to do with this too. Actually, I can't remember exactly what Photon is, other than it's got great music.
It
But,
sounds like it should be very similar, but it
It
probably
sounds
isn't.
like it, yeah. So anyway, this is a game where you play
Oh,
as
man.
as a bulldozer, as you do, and you're pushing around these blocks that reflect a laser light, and your job is to connect two different points in a puzzle-like manner. So anyway, this dump was posted on a Polish forum a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But of course, sometimes, on the non-English speaking web, things tend to disappear. This game has been rediscovered and has been reposted over on the English Amiga board. Check it out. Looks cool if you're a puzzle type guy. And hey, I'm all about forgotten games being found.
Yeah, and let's shout out to all the Poles out there, all the Polish fans. Are there any more passionate Amiga followers than the fine folks over in Poland? They love
No.
it. They're
They're
a
big
passionate
Atari
bunch
guys
of people.
too.
They're
They love their
passionate-
retro.
They're passionate in general.
Yeah, they are.
I like to party with a bunch of those guys like Amiga Bill did. I never forget that
I'd be
video.
afraid. I'd
They
be
was
afraid
getting,
I'd
they were
die.
getting that Polish brew out of the fridge.
Yeah.
And Bill, Bill has that kind of weird look on his face. That's where he got it, right there. It's the first time I've ever seen him get that look. That's what it was. This looks okay, though, Bo. This doesn't look too bad at all. Hey,
No.
can you pronounce this guy's name? Arkadiusz Walaziski?
Yeah, I don't have
That's
to. You just did it.
Man, I'll buy a vowel, Vanna. You know what I mean? That's a lot
Yeah.
of vowels in there.
Well, you,
Good
me,
stuff.
and Arkadiusz should have a drink sometime.
Man, I'm
Maybe
down.
we
He
can
should
get
come to
him
Boat
to come
Fest.
to Boat Fest. That's right.
Listen,
That's right.
Polish people, come on down. We will take
We
care
welcome
of
you. We
Yeah.
welcome you. My,
We welcome
whatever,
everybody. Everybody.
I'm 1/4 Polish. So bam.
Really?
Yeah,
That's the good-looking quarter, too.
that's right. All right, Aaron. We got this is not a news site, but this is a site that we were made aware of over on our Discord, and I figured some people didn't know about this.
I don't.
This is a site called amigavideo.net. Amigavideo.net is an online interactive archive of instructional videotapes that were designed to teach people how to use various Amiga applications.
Oh, okay.
So if you scroll down the site a little bit, you can see a big stack of videotapes. Dave Z actually has a whole bunch of these. He wants me to digitize for him. He probably has some that AmigaVideo.net doesn't have. But this is a really fantastic resource if you're trying to educate yourself on Lightwave or the toaster, and you want to see what the people were learning on back in the day. Your whole archive is right here at your fingertips at AmigaVideo.net.
Let me tell you something. Our good buddies, I mentioned him earlier, Tapes from the Crypt. I guarantee you, this picture he's got blown up, and he's got it on his wall somewhere, a frame. He's a videotape master. He'd love this.
Yes.
This is a great idea, by the way. You need to get on that boat for Dave Z.
I know. He needs to
know.
send those things over, man.
Are you kidding me? Dave Z will pony up the shipping for about anything. I've learned that
know.
about him. So
I
yeah,
know.
that's a
He's
great,
the
good
man.
find, Boat. Hey, since we're done with the news, I'm going to chime in here.
We're not
one
done
real
with the
quick.
news.
Oh, we're not?
I've got I
Oh,
forgot
I'm
to
sorry.
I forgot to click a button. If you'll refresh the page, and props to Anthony Jarvis, by the way, for putting that AmigaVideo.net link up. I was new to me, and I appreciate it.
That was good.
Do you see our final story here, Aaron?
Yes, I do. I do
Okay.
see it now.
This is just a quick shout out to our boy Alistair Bremble. We're friends on Facebook, which means we're practically buddies.
Oh, yeah.
He's celebrating his 1,000th invoice for video game audio. He's done 1,000 jobs in the industry, Aaron. What do you think about that?
Listen, as a man who's done a few jobs myself, you know what I mean, I'm proud of this man. I'm also proud that he says here his #1 invoice was Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds were go for Alistair Brimble. And so I don't know what his 1,000th was, but congratulations. Hey, listen, talent will take you far, Boat. You know that. You of all people know that. Man, I didn't mean to step on Mr. Brimble's toes.
No,
either.
it's my fault because I forgot to click a button to make it visible.
Yeah, but listen,
so
you don't want to cross someone that powerful, Boat.
that's
My
right.
God.
So we congrats to Alistair, and here's to 1,000 more.
Right
Aaron,
on.
what do you want to talk about before we leave the news?
Let's talk about how great I am. No, I'm just kidding. I mentioned this in the pre-show, but now I'm going to mention it in the actual show. Coming up a week from tomorrow as we film this, it will be the International Computer Club. That's Saturday,
yes.
September 2. September 2. These don't come around that often because they give me a ulcer every time we do one. But by God, we're up for another one. I got a lot of Pepto and Alka-Seltzer in there. I'm ready to go. We will be starting this thing off at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be on Twitch, the same channel you're watching now if you're watching us live, Amigos Retrogaming on Twitch. That's where you come for all the good stuff, Boat. And this will be no exception. We've got 6 or 7 people that are going to be doing demonstrations, have sent in videos, or are going to give little talks as we do. These things are always a lot of fun. We usually go about 3 hours or so. And this time around, we're going to, once again, Boat, I'm going to roll the bones. We're going to do this on Discord this time around. And it should be a lot of fun. That's International Computer Club. That will be going down September 2nd, Saturday, September 2nd at 5 p.m. If you have not signed up and you want to demonstrate something or have something that you do at the International Computer Club, please, I beseech you, go to the International Computer Club section, ICC section of the Discord, or you can send me an email if you're not a member of the Discord at argpresents@mail.com. Boat.
Bam.
There you go.
Bam.
That's it. I should also mention, Boat, just an FYI, we have uploaded the last Coco show me and Bud are going to be hosting, at least for the foreseeable future, and it was one of my all-time favorite shows. It's on Lucifer's Kingdom, Boat. We put Lucifer over strong in this one in terms of its fashion sense and also his game, because this game's double awesome. Even if you're not a Coco fan, please check out the new Coco show. And me and the Brent did a show, and it's the Brent's choice, double Brent action in this one. Please check that out as well. That's all I got there, Boat.
All right, man. What do we got coming up next week on the show?
Let's find out. Oh, man. Oh, can you pronounce that in a hilarious way for me?
You're ready.
Yeah. Well, that's... You forgot the 2. Yeah, it's Uridium 2. It's like Wrestling 2. Yeah, hold it up. Now listen, Uridium, sort of a famous game on not the Amiga. You know what I mean?
What's it famous on?
That's Uridium's like a big C64. Like it's one of the Mount Rushmore games of the C64.
Okay. Is this a Bitmap Brothers garbage piece?
No. Listen, have we not gotten over it? You love the Bitmap Brothers. You love some of their games. Don't give in to hate, Boat. Don't get in the dark path.
I'm glad it's
Come on
not
now.
Bitmap Brothers.
Oh, it's not. Don't worry about that. That's it. That'll be fun. Iridium 2. Good times. Good times.
All right, guys. Thank you as always for watching. Do keep in mind if you'd like to support the show and join our Discord community, you can head on over to patreon.com/Amigos Podcast. We will see you next week, and until then, adios.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos Podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.